What do we got next?
Next question is from Marathon Sprinter. My company does a 2-week sprint starting in the middle of the week, Thursday. Should I switch my weekly plan to a 2-week long sprintly plan?
Probably. Yes. So in my multi-scale planning philosophy, where you do quarterly semester plans, weekly plans, and then daily plans, the weekly has a little bit of give. It is important to have a scale of planning where you can see multiple days in a row. That's what allows you to figure out how to move these bigger chess pieces around. That's what gives you the insight to move things, to open up bigger time. That's what allows you to see, early in the week, I need to really push on this because later in the week is worse. So you need some sort of planning scale that looks at multiple days at a time. If you go all the way to just say, what do I want to do today? You're missing some of this bigger structure to your available time and your available opportunities to get things done. Exactly 1 week isn't so critical. So if your company has a 2-week cycle, I think 2 weeks would be fine. Build it around the sprints. In fact, you should probably put some specific structure into your weekly plans that take into account this is sprint work, and then this is the non-sprint administrative work. And I keep track of, these days I do the administrative work, and then here's the sprint. And you could even have like a special format built around it. If you went much longer than 2 weeks, you're going to start to get into trouble. I do know people who do monthly plans. Monthly plans aren't that useful. It's not enough time to do the big picture quarterly semester planning. It's too much time to meaningfully move around appointments or think about when you're going to do work. It's just too many days. 2 weeks, fine. 3 weeks, iffy. 1 month, too much. 1 week, fine. If you're doing just a couple days at a time, not enough. So let's give a 1 to 2-ish week window. That window of scales, I think that would all be fine. But Jesse, you were telling me before the show, you had a recent breakthrough in your weekly plans.
Yeah. So I think everything is iterative, and the more, you're just talking about, once you're a convert, then you just hear the preaches. So I hear you talk about weekly plans a lot, and I was looking at mine and it was getting jumbled, and there was a lot of stuff in there that should have been over in Trello, for instance, just because there was stuff that I wasn't actually going to get to that particular week. So then when I went to the plan, I see all this stuff, and for whatever.
You're talking tasks related or objectives related to a bigger project.
Yeah, for a certain job that I have. And
were you carrying these over?
Yeah.
So you'd put here's the 6 things this project needs done onto your weekly plan.
Yeah.
And maybe just one of those gets done. You would just carry over.
Yeah.
And rewrite or copy and paste.
As opposed to just sticking it over in Trello and then pulling it and then be like, all right, this week I'm just going to do this. And then, because then that kind of gets along with the slow productivity stuff that you're doing. And then you're actually making some progress on a certain job or a task or whatever it is that you have in that plan.
Do you focus now each week on I'm going to do 1 project or 2 projects? You hone in on exactly which projects you're going to make progress on?
Yeah. Well, I have it divided into different jobs. So then,
yeah,
for those whatever specific job, then it would be this one thing, that I wanted to make progress on, as opposed to for instance, to say job A, I didn't want to I would have 3 things in there and then wouldn't necessarily make great progress. But now with one thing in there, doing a few things, it's the slow productivity mindset and getting some stuff done.
And do you pull over? So you've identified a particular job you're working on this week. Do you pull in from Trello, this is the 1 or 2 tasks I want to get done? Or is it you're identifying this is a job I want to do, as you work on it in the week, keep pulling stuff from Trello? So what do you
I pulled in 1 in the beginning of the week.
And then if that gets done early, you might update the weekly plan.
Yeah. Usually it's something that's going to take, it hasn't gotten done early yet. So usually it'll take the whole week based on my other schedule.
So a common experience people have, let's see if you had the same experience. A common experience people have is, let's say they have 3 or 4 major projects going on. They're really worried about the idea of just working on 1 per week because they think, I'm not going to get to this other project for another 3 weeks. That's impossible. I need to make progress. But what they realize, if they do that, they end up getting things done just as quickly as if they instead tried to sort of quixotically do a little bit of every project every week. That when you slow down and do one thing at a time, it doesn't actually necessarily slow down completion times for each of these projects on average, and it tends to raise quality. So was it stressful at first or a little anxiety producing to say, let me just choose one thing? Because when you're making that plan, you're I'm only putting 1 project on this, and was that anxiety producing at first?
it reduced like anxiety actually after I looked at the weekly plan and it had less stuff on there. I was like, oh, this is very doable.
Oh,
you know?
interesting. Yeah.
So,
And you've had no problem getting these things done.
it's
Because it's not like you were actually getting all these things done each week. You were just writing them down.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
carrying over, and it was like making my weekly plan jumbled.
Yeah.
So
That's good. I
now
like
it's
that.
clear and concise and better.
Be realistic in your weekly plan.
Yeah,
Don't use your weekly plan to store things. It's actually
exactly. Store things.
store things elsewhere. Weekly
Yeah.
plan is what you actually want to get done. And don't use it as a wish list.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is that little burst you get. This is like such a devilish little burst of pleasure you get when you're making a weekly plan. If you put a bunch of stuff on it for 10 minutes, you get the little pleasure that comes from imagining, man, if I got all of these things done this week, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
And then you trade that like 10 minutes of like enjoying this fantasy you created for 5 days of stressfully coming nowhere near close to actually getting it done.
Yeah, it's so well said.
So much planning.
Don't make it a wish list.
Don't make it a wish list.
Yeah.
Yeah. The same with time block planning. Early time block planners do this when they're planning their day. They plan the day, the perfect day. It's if you'll excuse a nerdy reference, it's Harry Potter in the Half-Blood Prince when he takes the Felix Felicis potion. Jesse's looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? It's a potion that it gives you good luck. Like everything goes just the best way possible when you take this potion. So if you take this potion, and I think time block planning for a lot of people, and this is the type of like really cool gritty analogy that gets us like a really cool fan base. Time block planning for a lot of people just becomes a productivity Felix Felicitas potion, where it's like, wouldn't this be great if this only took a half hour and in this 20 minutes between these two meetings, I took this off my plate, and then in this hour I finished that memo, and you look at this plan, you're like, man, that would be awesome. And like 9 minutes into your day, your laptop's on fire, the company just went out of business, your child just gave lice to your pediatrician who's now left the industry altogether, and 7 new projects just fell on your plate, and also you forgot you were supposed to be writing a book and it's due on Friday. Like it takes about 9 minutes before this like miraculous plan you have where you're like, this is great, everything will take 20 minutes and I'll have all this energy. So be realistic. Don't make a wish list. You'll feel better actually being able to get a reasonable plan done with time to spare. In the end, it's going to make you feel much better than that 10 minutes of like, ooh, this would be great.